freshman year, I walked into school thinking my biggest concern would be trying to get to the 3rd floor for my second period class in time. Instead, my biggest worry was answering a truckload of questions from my peers and teachers. Like, what do you want to major in? Are you taking the right classes? Have you applied for any internships? What college are you aiming for? And the list goes on. And as a 14-year-old who is still trying to find her classrooms, I had no clue how to answer any of those questions. I didn't know the right career for me. I didn't know who I wanted to be. I didn't know the first thing about colleges. I just didn't know. And nor did my immigrant parents who were navigating this journey with me for the first time as well. So it was sort of implied that I was just supposed to suck it up and figure it out myself. A degree of independence that is glorified in society today. But recently, I began to challenge that idea of self-made success. Because behind many self-made success stories, there's often a teacher advocate, an older sibling, or a network of support from people who've been there before. And as I continued to observe those around me, I quickly began to realize that this guidance frequently seemed to rely on luck. It felt as though you had to be lucky enough to reach those connections to help pave your path. But that didn't quite sit right with me. Why should I be lucky enough for an older sibling with the same goals as me? Or rich enough to pay for personalized guidance? Why does it have to be a privilege? So, when I took a look at what mentorship actually looks like today, I realized the issue isn't that it's non-existent. It's that it exists in 2 extremes. First, you have the free programs that are well-intentioned but unstructured. Think of the school guidance counselors, those class sessions with generalized advice, like follow your passions, which is great, except at that time, my passions included sleeping in, eating Thai food, and convincing myself that watching college decision reaction videos online counted as career exploration. Yeah, I wasn't right about that one. But in all honesty, it's not likely that you're getting the personalized support you need to answer the questions that truly matter to your own growth. And it's not just me saying this. I ran a survey at my school by having my teachers send it out to their classes for their students to fill. And with a total of 94 responses, ranging from all grade levels, genders, and course types, nearly 2/3 of students rated their experience as average or below. And approximately 85% reported the benefit as either partial or even non-existent, which may indicate that the advice works enough to sound helpful, but not to actually be helpful for many of these students. And on the other end, highly personalized preparatory programs do exist, but they're just not broadly accessible to many students. While federally funded programs like TRIO Upward Bound and Gear Up provide services at no cost to selected students, that's just where the issue lies. It's only for a selected number of students, so many don't qualify because either the eligibility rules are pretty specific or there just aren't enough spots. And outside of those, personalized prep support can get expensive fast. Private academic coaching and enrichment programs can run from $2,000 to $10,000 per year, with some one-on-one tutoring packages going for $100 to $300 per hour. At that point, the mentor isn't just guiding you. They can become your parents' newest monthly subscription. And even when partial aid does exist, it's still out of reach for so many families. So at the end, access to truly individualized preparation often comes down to either how much you can pay or how lucky you are in the selection process. So what if mentorship didn't exist in extremes? What if, instead of choosing between an expensive private program or generalized advice, we build something in the middle? A free, structured mentorship model that intentionally pairs upperclassmen or professionals with younger students who share their interests, values, and goals. Because personally, the most valuable piece of advice I ever received in my high school career was from the seniors and the college kids who had walked through my shoes before. Imagine a sophomore interested in business, sitting across a local entrepreneur, getting that opportunity to ask them questions and receive real answers. Or a student curious about healthcare, not Googling the field online, but actually talking to a pre-med student who was once in their place not so long ago. Now, these pairings might not give students a blueprint for life, but it may give them that exposure and clarity they need to answer the questions that contribute to their own journey. Which leads to the next big question. How do we do it? Well, it doesn't have to be complicated. I reached out to Big Brothers Big Sisters, an organization that already runs a free structured mentorship model, and I learned how surprisingly simple yet impactful their model was. First, they get to know both the students and the mentors through a series of interviews, asking them questions about their interests and goals and values. Then, using that knowledge, they intentionally match them. But before anything becomes official, they observe the pair's dynamic and check in with both sides to ensure it feels like a good fit. Mentors would also go through background checks and receive training to ensure accountability and a shared standard of support. And once they're finally matched, the pair go on to do things that they both enjoy, whether that's just talking about their lives at a park or just grabbing a bite to eat. And throughout this entire process, the organization continues to track progress to keep the relationship strong over time. And the best part is that it's proven so effective from so many people who come out of this organization's program, which raises the question, if a model like this is already proving so successful, why isn't something similar built into our school something? Something more directed towards career preparation. And it doesn't have to be a huge structural change either. When I reached out to my IPSD 204 District Superintendent, Dr. Talley, he emphasized that while mentorship is so powerful with so many proven benefits, it has to be implemented carefully. So it could begin as a pilot program. A small group of upperclassmen paired with younger students as early as 8th grade, meeting once a month or as frequently as they require. The mentors could receive training through organizational courses, be matched based on shared interests, and be equipped to understand the current educational landscape in order to help students navigate it. So it's not in a robotic, here's your 4-year plan way, but in a real one, helping them set goals, encourage reflection, exposing them to opportunities they didn't even know existed, and just helping them figure out what their next step could look like, whether that's understanding which extracurriculars to stick with, or just avoiding the classic excuse of, I'll figure it out later, which somehow lasts all 4 years. And as the program scales, it could be used to connect these students with alumni, professionals willing to offer their perspectives that go beyond just the classroom. And research also supports this direction. According to a 2025 systematic review of 21 empirical journal articles, mentoring programs designed with clear goals and structured relationships have positive effects across academic, social, and psychological outcomes. From the data, researchers found that close-knit and personalized mentor-mentee relationships actually correlate with improved discipline and stronger academic performance when the program is well implemented. In other words, it's more effective in providing direction when it's not your generic freshman advisory sessions with a guidance counselor going over course selections for it feels like the 10th time. And in a closer scope of this issue, students also report feeling way less overwhelmed and anxious due to their sense of direction. According to a 2025 March experimental study, researchers found that peer mentoring significantly reduced perceived stress among nursing students during clinical training. So yes, even these medical students, people who are studying how to save lives, still benefited from structured guidance. Yet another reason as to why it's highly beneficial for adolescents, people who are still trying to figure out themselves, to have those personal mentors to help them navigate through high-pressure situations, like high school. So what it comes down to is not the internships or college admissions, but the emotional weight that students carry in an isolation disguised as independence. And in order to ensure the next generation of students face less of this unnecessary burden, we can make changes now. If you're an educator, advocate for the integration of the system within your community. If you're a college student or professional with knowledge to lend, volunteer your time to mentor the underprivileged in your area. And if you're a student, push for conversations that challenge the stigma that self-made success is a task with no manual. Because even if this concept sounds inspiring, for many it can be a myth that often leaves them struggling in silence. Because the truth is, in retrospect, my biggest concern freshman year should have been finding my class in time. Ideally, no student should have to feel lost in the hallway of their own potential. And maybe the solution isn't teaching them to wander faster. Maybe it's finally deciding to hand them a guide.